Well, we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome everyone to the Digital Opportunity Grant Track 2 Deep Dive. I'm Adrienne Clark, Digital Opportunity Program Manager. My colleague Maggie Woods is on. You will probably hear from her as well. So we will go ahead and get started. Um, if you go to the next slide, I would like, with our agenda, we're going to introduce our Digitunity partners, our consultant partners. And I want to go over the agenda. We'll do the overview, then we'll do the deep dive into the computer ownership, capacity building, and sustainability. I want to ask everyone to please place your questions in the chat because we will give time at the end to be able to answer questions. This session will be recorded and we will get that to you. Our wonderful comms director, Crystal, will be sending that out. And then also, if you are interested in being a partner to a lead as you go through this and you think about that, please put that in the chat as well, along with your contact information. So we'll go to the next. Carissa and Rebecca from Digitunity, would you please introduce yourselves? Digitunity is our consultants that has been a key partner in developing this device, the sustainability program. And I would really like to hear from them for a second.
Adrienne, it looks like they're not able to unmute themselves, so they've introduced themselves in the chat.
Okay. Well, we will go forward. Next slide, please. So we want to start with our disclaimer of federal funding. The Digital Opportunity Grant awards are contingent on federal approval and applicable law. We will keep all applicants apprised of any additional updates and responses from the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, just NTIA, or any changes in law that may change funding, program guidelines, or criteria. We have to make sure that we give you that disclaimer. Our legal makes us do so. Next slide, please. So in North Carolina, there are 328,000 households without a laptop or desktop computer. 91% of North Carolina jobs require some digital skills, and a quarter of U.S. workers don't have fundamental digital skills. 1.3 million North Carolina households have to pay more than 2% of their annual income to afford broadband costs of $60 per month. We are addressing this through our Digital Opportunity Grant. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the grant, the $17 million Digital Opportunity Grant, is to develop new and extend existing digital skills, digital navigation, and online safety programs, as well as create a structured system for the provision and development of computers to increase ownership, help desk, and technical support to those who need it most. The performance period of the grant is January the 1st, 2026 through July 31, 2029. The official start date of the grant will depend on approval from NTIA. The deadline for application submission is June the 9th. Next slide, please. So the program, the grant encompasses two tracks. Track 1, digital skills and navigation, online security. Maggie will be giving a deep dive into that tomorrow. But we are going to focus on track 2, which is the computer ownership, capacity building, and sustainability piece. So applicants can apply for track 1 and 2. So funding, sorry about that. Track 1 is, okay. So track 2, A, is computer refurbishers, which are the hubs. Track 2B is the computer deployment leads. Next slide. So the overall funding for track 2 is $7,850,000. Of that, 2 hubs will be funded $1,970,000 each. 4 leads will receive $977,500 each. So that will be 2 leads and 4 leads and 2 hubs for the grant. Next slide. Who can apply? Community service organizations, including local governments, local library systems, K through 12 school systems, nonprofit organizations that are 501c3, higher education institutions, regional entities, state government agencies, and federally recognized tribal government entities. For-profit entities are not eligible to apply for this grant. Next slide, please. Due to specific technical nature, the computer refurbishers for track 2A have additional eligibility requirements. They must be a refurbisher headquartered in North Carolina with existing large screen computer deployment programs and ongoing programmatic activities. Currently serve a minimum of 10 community-based organizations, deploy a minimum of 2,500 large screen computers annually to North Carolina residents, and have operated within North Carolina for a minimum of 7 years. Next slide. So the recipients and geographic reach, funded projects will focus on serving all digitally excluded groups in North Carolina. A full list of excluded groups can be found on the NTIA guidance and FAQs, and that is listed on our website. Priority will be given to organizations that are regional and statewide and that will partner with and or subgrant funding to smaller local organizations. Next slide. The applications will be submitted through Qualtrics, which is our new platform. We moved from Salesforce because this is more intuitive, and those applications are due by June the 9th. And applications for both tracks are on our website, and a list of the application questions for each track, and other grants, other resources are also available on the website. Next slide. Applications will be reviewed by a committee of digital opportunity and community partners and state agency officials. The Office of Digital Opportunity will review recommendations from external reviewers and make final selections and decisions. Next slide. Our timeline, the applications have already opened in April. We've completed 2 information sessions. Our deep dive for both tracks is today and tomorrow. Drop-in hours have not been determined yet, but we will notify you as soon as they do. Our schedule, the application window closes on June the 9th. Contingent awards will be announced in September, but all recommended grantees must be approved by NTA before the award is considered final. So we make the selections, but we have to send them to NTIA and so that they can ensure that the grantee applications meet the guidance that they set forth. Contingent grantee trainings are September and November. The award approvals from NTIA are anticipated in November. Anticipated grant starts in January of 2026. And again, that date is contingent upon final approval from NTIA. Next slide. So that was the broad overview of the grant itself. And now we're going to take our deep dive into the computer ownership, capacity building, and sustainability piece. Next slide, please. So the state's goal for Track 2 of the Digital Opportunity Grant will support Strategy 5 of the North Carolina Digital Opportunity Plan, which is to ensure that North Carolinians have access to large screen computers, help desk, and technical support to meet their needs. There are a number of measurable objectives, but the large one is by 2029, we want 95% of North Carolina households to own a working large screen computer, which that is a laptop, desktop, or tablet that is internet capable to meet their needs. Next slide. Next. So this track will expand computer ownership initiatives to build a foundation for sustainable statewide ecosystem of local refurbishers and community organizations working to increase computer ownership in local communities. Ownership refers to a personal computer that an individual has to be able to navigate the internet, to complete work applications, school assignments, have telehealth calls, that they are able to do that as they need it. Next slide. So this is our vision. This is how the ownership, capacity building, and sustainability program looks. We will have 2 computer refurbishment hubs. So the hub will be at the core. Each hub will be assigned 2 leads, and these leads will identify 4 to 6 partners. The hubs will deploy refurbished computers to the leads and to the computer partners. Again, there will be 2 hubs and 2 leads assigned to each one, and that's based on geographic area and program reach. And then the leads will identify and fund 4 to 6 partners. Isn't it pretty? Computers. Okay, next. So computers are in this program include refurbished large screen computers like laptops, desktops, tablets that adequately meet the needs of the intended user. Limited acquisition for smartphones will be allowed with approval. The computers will have to have a minimum of a year warranty and a minimum of a year technical support. And you can see the grant guidelines and FAQs for a full list of computer specifications. Next slide. So we have been asked the question of what is meant by large screen computers. They are large screen computers are computing devices such as laptops, desktops, and tablets that are capable of connecting directly to the internet and often include a keyboard. These devices feature a screen large enough to enable productive work, education, and complex computing tasks. While smartphones still provide access to internet, the large screens are more functional for adequate digital participation, like creating documents and online learning. Next slide. Next slide. Our hubs are organizations responsible for receiving, processing, and preparing on computers for redistribution to the deployment leads and partners. The hubs will sanitize, refurbish, test, and prepare them before they leave their facility. Next slide. A hub's responsibility is each hub will be responsible for deploying 7,500 refurbished computers during the course of the grant. They will acquire them, refurbish them, transport to the leads and partners, provide warranties and help desk, attend deployment training, mentor and build relationships with leads and partners, collect data, and engage with the North Carolina Assistive Technology Program as appropriate. Next slide. Each hub, again, will be awarded $1 million, a little less than $2 million. It is never enough money, but $1 million sounds great. Each hub will be responsible for supplying a minimum of 2,500 computers per lead to the leads and their partners for 7,500 over the grant period. Next slide. Our leads, next slide. Leads are the coordinating organizations responsible for identifying, managing, and supporting local computer deployment partners. They serve as the liaison between NCDIT, hubs, and computer deployment partners, ensuring seamless communication, operational efficiency, program alignment, and monitoring to ensure outcomes are met. They will sub-grant, sub-fund their partners, the partners that they identify. NCDIT will assign 2 leads to each partner based on will assign 2 leads to each hub based on geographic and program participation needs. The responsibility of leads is to identify and coordinate with 4 to 6 partners as subgrantees of the program. They will identify the partners and ensure their program aligns with the grant goals and performance, collect data for reporting, oversee the partners, including monitoring, reporting, and having regular meetings, participate in deployment training, and accept 3,750 computers from hubs and transfer to the partners, provide support to partners to expand and strengthen their capacity, and procure computers in addition to those they've received from hubs. There are additional funds that the partners and leads have to be able to procure specialized equipment, and that will meet the needs of the people that they serve. Next slide. So the leads, each of the leads will receive $9,077,500 to support both leads and partner activities. So the leads can utilize a maximum of 160 of those dollars for their program and activities. And they should distribute a minimum of $640,000 to partners for programming and their staff. And the amount per partner could differ based on the needs of the partner organizations that they're serving. Leads and partners will utilize a minimum of $177,500 to $177,500. I don't know why I'm bad at math today. And supplemental funding for additional computers to meet the needs of the people they serve, such as assistive technology and specialized software. They will work with the hubs to be able to get that equipment as well. The deployment partners are trusted organizations in local communities responsible for direct distribution and support of computers to individuals. They'll work with NCDIT and hubs to leads and hubs to ensure that computers are efficiently delivered, properly utilized, and have the necessary support. Each lead will designate funds to the partners. Leads are eligible as well to be a partner. So they would receive funds as a partner and receive funds as a lead as well. Next slide. The responsibility of the partners is to conduct outreach to potential computer recipients, vet those recipients, identify their needs, ensure on-site support for distribution, accept the computers from the hubs, utilize allocated funding to purchase additional computers and deploy them to the residents in need. Next slide. We're going to discuss eligible and ineligible expenses. So for all tracks, and that will be track 1, 2A, and B, eligible expenses include administrative support, program expenses, other expenses such as wraparound services like transportation or food for participants for classes. But this expense can be no more than 5% of the budget. Capital expenses and equipment. These are things that they could purchase to help to deliver the program, such as classroom furnishings. Professional and legal professional services, such as legal and consultants as well. And the funding must complement and not replace other funding sources. So if an organization already receives funding for a particular program, these funds cannot be used to fund the same activities within that program. However, if they want to expand the program, adding additional classes, hiring additional digital navigators to facilitate the classes, they can use these funds to support that program. And again, the grant lines has a full list. The guidelines outlines a full list of eligible and ineligible expenses. Next slide, please. Those eligible expenses for track A is also, and this is for the hubs, will be refurbishment expenses, program expenses, including personnel, expenses related to acquiring software or warranties. If necessary, they can purchase new and refurbished large screen computers, peripherals if needed, travel expenses and reasonable expenses for staff to visit leads, partners, and hubs. So next slide. Eligible expenses for leads, which is track B, same thing, cost of refurbished computers from hubs, program expenses, including personnel costs, travel to partners and hubs, expenses related to program delivery, costs associated with collecting and measuring out performance activities as well. Next slide. Eligible expenses for the partners will be costs associated with ensuring adequate and storage space for computers, data collection, travel expenses to the hubs and leads, and expenses related to delivery of the events. For purchasing peripherals if needed, the subrecipients and subgrantees, which are the partners that receive funding from the leads, must include only direct administrative expenses or an administrative indirect rate of 15% of the budget or less. Next slide, please. Ineligible expenses, which there is a long list of them in the program guidance, but it's infrastructure deployment costs related to construction or installation for deployment of broadband, internet subsidies, which you cannot pay for a subscription for internet for households, and the grant may not be used to be reimbursed under other federal and state funds. Next slide. So we wanted to give you some scenarios for the budget. So each lead, this is for the leads, each lead will identify 4 to 6 partners. So this slide gives you some scenarios, 3 different scenarios with 4 partners. So each lead will receive $977,500 to support their and their partners' activities. A minimum of those funds will be $640,000 allocated to the partners. Then a minimum of $177,500 for additional computers. Then the leads can also serve as a partner. So sample 1 gives you an idea of equal distribution of what I just quoted. The leads at $160,000, allocation of the minimum allocation of additional computers for $177,000, and then each of the 4 partners at $160,000. So, which all adds up to $977,000. So the second scenario is giving more funding to some of the leads that need it, and a little less, and that's based on what their program needs are, and the individuals that they're serving. So, which this is also allowable. Then the third scenario gives us, it shows you where the lead is also identified as one of the partners. So they are allocating less and less funds to themselves. They find that they don't need as many funds for their program, but they are giving more funds, allocating additional funds for the computer purchasing, and then themselves as a lead with $120,000, and then distributing the rest of those funds to the partners 2, 3, and 4. So we hope this is really helpful in whenever you start to do your budgets for the grant. And this scenario, this slide gives you scenarios for 6 partners. And it's the same with the equal distribution, more partner funding and less lead funding, as well as the third scenario where the lead has even less funding and is a lead and identifies 5 partners. Next slide. So resources, the application for applications are on our website. The guidelines, FAQs, budget templates, instructions are all at ncbroadband.gov digital opportunity grant. And please visit the Tech Resource Finder as well on our website. Next slide. So now we can open for questions, and we will look in the chat and see what we have.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for putting all your questions in. Before we start on the questions, I believe our two folks that have joined us today, Carissa and Rebecca, can now turn on your cameras and mics and introduce yourselves.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Crystal, for making that happen. We're really grateful to be here today, and hope that this session is helpful to you. Adrian, what a wonderful job you've done here. But Digitunity is a national nonprofit that is working with the state to support that goal of computer ownership, and it's a real honor and privilege to be part of the team. And I can't but keep saying that I really want to point out we do work across the country, and North Carolina is really a leader in this work and is really setting the expectations and really what can be done. So I'm really glad to be part of this. Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm Rebecca Kelly, program specialist with Digitunity. It's been a pleasure getting to work closely with Adrian and Maggie during this process. And yeah, we're excited to see what North Carolina does with this capacity grant funding.
Fantastic. Thank you both. Okay, so we've got a first question. And when I go through there, if these need a little bit more information, Adrian, can you provide this to make sure it's really, really clear to the audience what the question and answer are? The first question is it required that it's one large screen per household?
It is not required. That is the minimum. That's what we are hoping for, that those, all of that, the households in North Carolina that do not have large screen computers has at least one. We know that's really not enough because most households need 2 or 3 because of, the folks living there. So, but yes, it is not a requirement. It's a minimum.
Wonderful. Okay, now I'm going to call on one of our other team members now. Tamisha, can you join us on camera for a response to Kenny's question of how do you suggest that state agencies and/or universities deal with the tax implications of giving devices to program participants? And then we'll finish with the follow-up question.
That is a wonderful question. My knee-jerk reaction, honestly, would be to purchase as quickly as possible, shop around. And when you purchase in bulk, you tend to get a discounted price. And so I would recommend doing that to offset the taxes, tariffs, however we're going to address it. If you have any more additional questions as it relates to that, feel free to send me an email. And I can give you a little bit more in-depth of an answer, or I'm more than willing to have a one-on-one conversation with you.
And so, go ahead.
Can I address follow-up?
Sure.
That's going to be a big issue too, but that wasn't exactly my question. I've been told by my grants department that there's basically a sales tax implication for a state agency giving a participant a computer. So we could give them the computer, but we would have to charge them the equivalent sales tax associated with that gift. It's like yes. So I don't know the full details about it, but it's a roadblock that I've come up against with NC State University policy on that type of thing. So any suggestions there?
Yeah, Ken, let me look into that. I'm not aware of that, but let me look into that. And I will get back to you if you give me about 24 hours, because I'm not aware of that.
I just want to jump into, Kenny, this is the first time I've heard of that. I've heard a lot of challenges with procuring devices as a state agency, but not these tax implications. So I think we definitely need to dig into it a little bit more and maybe need to talk to NC State's grants office too, to better understand where they're seeing this law. I think part of how this is designed is that because the hubs procure most of the devices, we're hoping to get around some of those challenges that state agencies, but also that other nonprofits have with actually procuring devices.
Yeah, it might be just creative thinking, and NC State never owns the computers that it gives the participant. They come from the hub. It never transfers ownership to NC State. So
Correct.
that might be a workaround. So I don't know. I'm just trying to fight for my people.
Perfect. Okay, and I've added Tamisha's email into the chat for any direct follow-up. We have another question. Who bears the financial burden if the partners of the lead misappropriates the funds? Tamisha, that may be another question for you as well.
Yes. Well, it will originally be on the partner, and then of course it trickles its way up, right? But it's originally going to be on the partner because the partner is responsible for the funds. Once they receive it, you're responsible, but then you have your next level up of monitoring. So that's how it ends up tag teaming, and in the lead is then or could be held responsible as well, because the lead should be monitoring the partner. And then of course, our office monitors the lead. I hope that answers your question. I hope there's no misappropriation of funds.
I think we all do. Great answer. Okay, I've got another question. This one might be a good one for Maggie. What is reasonable support to ensure recipients can transport safely? Is this related to packing material or transportation that's locked to 5%?
So I wanted to clarify the 5%, and then I might have someone else answer the first part of this question. The 5% has to do with wraparound services. So basically to help program participants be able to participate in your program, like paying for their transportation to get to get to the program, that would be capped at 5%. That does not have to do with transporting of devices. So I'm gonna I don't know, Adrian, do you have a good answer on that?
Yes, if you're talking about from the hubs to the leads, the hubs will pack the computers appropriately. And then the leads to the partners, they will also pack them appropriately. But if you're talking about from the partners or leads to the individuals, usually the lead, they will put their device in a bag, like a tote bag, along with whatever, like the power cord or anything. But they usually use a tote bag for individual computers. Does that answer your question?
And that
Yes, that was part of the expenses line 18 on page 6, I believe. So it says provide reasonable support to recipients for them to safely transport their computer home. So it was like, what was that reasonable support?
So that reasonable support would be like a tote bag.
Yeah, we wanted to give consideration. We have seen situations where folks have given out computers, deployed computers, and not thought about how the person might need to be taking a bus with that computer home. So reasonable would be how it could depend on the where and mode of transportation and where the person's going to, but it's your reasonable common sense of taking into consideration how they can safely get that device home. And a tote bag may be enough.
Perfect. Okay, we'll move on. We've got a lot of conversation going in the chat about partners and sharing contact information. So that is fantastic. Okay, the next question we have is, it's actually sort of related. So there is a link to our dashboards, which is under ncbroadband.gov/dashboards. And there's a question asking if the awardees mentioned on that map are part of the current Digital Opportunity Program, or if their funding came from the Digital Champion Grant Program that closed last June. And yes, those are where those ones that have already received awards, they are Digital Champion grantees on that dashboard. We have not made any awards yet for the Digital Opportunity Grant. So the ones that were listed on that dashboard are Digital Champion grantees.
So this application process for the Digital Opportunity Grant just opened in April. And then we will, after the review process, we will do our final selections for contingent grantees and send those selections to NTIA. And then we would make final awards.
Wonderful. Okay, we have another question. What is the average cost of purchasing a computer from the HUD?
So initially you will not purchase. I mean, you won't have to purchase from the beginning, but the average cost is $260 per computer.
Wonderful. And we have a hand raised.
So I just want a clarity. So yes, the hubs are providing computers for free to the leads and their partners. But as Adrian mentioned, there is funding for leads to purchase additional computers that could be purchased through hubs at whatever negotiated rate there is, or could be purchased at from somewhere else based on the needs of the people being served.
Wonderful. There was a hand raised. Was your question answered, or do you have a?
Nope.
Perfect.
Hi, Yvette. So I'm in Western North Carolina, and I'm wondering if we are ambitious and say we want to be a hub, and you guys look at the application and say, you know what, you'd actually be better as a lead. Is that something that's going to be looked at with applications, or is it just like, no? Thanks for playing.
We can do that. We will be fair. And if we see that, okay, they really don't meet the criteria, they will be better as a lead, we could contact you.
Okay.
I agree with that. And I think we prefer to have these conversations ahead of time, because the questions for the hub is different than the questions for the lead. And so just thinking of like the lift that it takes to put together an application, we wouldn't want someone who applied to something that wasn't the right fit. And so I would just say, if you have questions about where you're right fit, we'd love to have that conversation now. But as Adrian said, if we see someone like applying for one and the same, like apply for a lead when we think, oh, maybe you'd be a better partner for something else, that is something that we would consider.
Great.
So Yvette, if we can, if you like, we can actually schedule a one-on-one call with you. So if you put your information in the chat, we can do that.
All right.
Fantastic. Okay, we've got another question from Cindy. Are the hubs and leads only paired by the state? This is kind of follow up to that. Is there intentional independence?
So the hubs apply and win that award, but the leads apply as well, and leads are assigned to the hubs by our office. So yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Another question, she put in a few. Can leads spend the allocation for computers with the named state hubs and or other device providers, new or refurbished?
Yes, there are additional funds for that. Yes.
You stated that hubs are responsible for delivering 7,500 devices with tech support over the grant period. But if costs rise due to tariffs, inflation, labor cost growth, supply chain interruption, can the total number be redefined or negotiated?
We might have to do that. So, yes, but
When
it would take
we-
conversation.
Yeah, and there'll likely be something in the contract around that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Jessica writes in, the hub is stated as required to provide help desk services. Can we partner with another partner to provide help desk services, or is the hub required to be used?
No, absolutely. As long as it's provided through the hub, it's absolutely fine.
Okay. And Jessica writes back in, will there be legal forms we give them to sign?
Legal forms, yes, they will have contracts. So we will send a contract for review and, and then our signature process as well.
And those legal forms are for all participants, or could you give a little bit more detail on that, or are those only for the?
Can we
So,
ask
no.
Jessica to provide clarity of who she means by them?
Yeah. Jessica, can you unmute yourself and ask the question so we get the right answer for you?
Because there will be contracts between the state and the hubs, and there'll be contracts between the state and the leads. And then there will likely be agreements between the leads and the partners that
Mhm.
are agreed upon through the leads will work with their partners on what those agreements look like. But I don't know if she meant something more specific than that.
I know the question arose when she asked the question about the misuse of funds between the leads and partners. So I'm assuming it is a leads and partners question. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. And the agreements between the leads and the partners, once they are fully executed, the copies of those will need to be submitted to our office as well.
Okay, we've got a decent number of questions last time. We're going to go speed round.
Okay.
What help desk support will be required by the hub that will be different from individuals, leads, partners using 211 or 311? Trying to understand more details about the support requirements.
I can just say that
Carissa?
211 and 311 aren't necessarily providing help desk. They're providing like connection to resources. And then I'll defer the first answer with the specific requirements to Adrian.
Yeah, it's like those minimal requirements, the help desk where people, sometimes people don't know how to turn on their internet and, how to navigate. And so it will be like minimal requirements for, the tech support, not like to fix computers, but it's like minimal requirements.
And Ashley, I'd encourage you to revisit the guidelines. There are
Guidelines.
between the tech support and help desk definitions. The help desk definition is that they are services that provide general support and troubleshooting for end users, addressing common software, hardware, and basic account issues. A little broad, I understand that, but there are a few other locations in the guidelines that give examples of what that help desk is, and then also look at the technical support definition, and I think you'll be able to clarify a little more deeper what help desk is we're looking for.
And that's in guidelines and in the FAQs.
Thank you. Okay, is it a major determining factor for leads to cover a certain population? As leads identify partners, how important is the regional demographic and location of partners or proximity?
I can attempt this one. So I think what we are looking for, particularly from the partners identified by leads, are partners that know their community really well and are deeply embedded in their community. That might be a specific population, it might not. But we are looking for leads to identify organizations deeply embedded in their communities. We'd like to see a variety of partners that, yes, that are distributed kind of regionally or demographically, which is why kind of the priority for leads kind of still remains a lead that can provide a regional focus or statewide focus versus, say, just one county or town. I hope that answered the question. I know we're running out of time, but happy to always meet and talk more specifics about those sorts of factors.
Okay. Next question, can leads use supplemental funds for refurbishing devices within their own organization rather than purchasing more from a hub?
We have not had that, but I don't see why not. I think that would be allowable expenses because those would be, you would need to buy tools for that, parts. So the answer is yes. It would just need to be outlined in your grant whenever you are applying.
Oh, and that actually, I was saving time for the question that came through in Q&A instead of chat, but that was actually the last question from the Q&A that was published here. So I think that is all of our questions other than folks looking for some more one-on-one support or looking to connect with other partners.
Okay.
And I would just say, I'm going to share my screen. It has our digital opportunity email. Please reach out to us if you want to connect directly, and we'll schedule a one-on-one with you. But that allows us to kind of track who we're reaching out to or who's reaching out to us. Oops, hang on. I got to go towards the end. I'm just going to put it in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing and put our email in the chat.
Before we conclude, do we have any final questions from anyone who has a burning question for the team?
I'm contacting my grants department to get more clarity on what the issue is about the tax implications. So I'll forward that on.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank y'all.
Not a question, just a comment. This was very, very helpful and well organized, and I appreciate you. So thank you for putting that together. I know it took a lot of work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Awesome. Well, if there are no further questions, we will end for the day. But as always, you can reach us at digitalopportunity@nc.gov. Thank you all for attending, and we will have this recording up on our website.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.